While receiving to the vault was as easy as sharing an address with the sender, sending from the vault will be much more complicated, and this is by design. We want to make sure only you or your heirs can actually spend from the vault. You might be wondering how you're going to be able to sign a transaction if the seeds and passphrase are geographically distributed among your heirs and guardians. In practice, your heirs will have to physically move to each guardian's location with the passphrase in order to sign the transaction. Here's the detailed process. You or your heirs will have to create the transaction in the wallet interface, save the unsigned transaction on their laptop, go to Guardian 1 with their laptop and the passphrase, load the unsigned transaction into the interface, load seed 1 and the passphrase into the signing device, forming signing key 1. Scan the transaction with the signing device and sign it offline. Scan back the partially signed transaction with the laptop, save the partially signed transaction on the laptop, and then repeat the same process with Guardian 2 and Guardian 3 until you have the 3 signatures. Once you have the fully signed transaction, you can broadcast it. Ready? Let's do it. Let's say you or your heir want to send some Bitcoin out of the vault so that you can send it more easily later on for a specific transaction. In this case, we're gonna go to send and then add the address of the recipient. In my case, I copied the address of the OpenSats Foundation, so it will be a small donation to them. I'll have to add a label, and in this case, it will be, let's say, OpenSats donation, and the amount. In my case, I'll send everything, and so it will be 13,749 sats, which is the maximum that I can send with the mining fees included. Here I can change the fee for the transaction, and this is a recap of the transaction. This is the output that we've received in the previous video, and this transaction will send some of it to the OpenSats donation address and the rest as the mining fee. So we'll continue with create transaction. And this is where we have a full recap of the whole transaction. So we'll finalize the transaction for signing. And this is where we'll have to add the 3 signatures for our transaction to become valid so that we can broadcast it. But let's say that I am not at my guardian's place right now. I am the heir, I am at my own place, and I have to go to each of the guardian's locations for me to be able to have access to each of the seeds in order to be able to sign the transaction. In this case, I'll do save transaction first, and I can save it on my desktop, for example. So there it is. I'm gonna bring it up here, and it has the name of the label we gave it, and it's .psbt for partially signed Bitcoin transaction. Now that I have the transaction ready, even though it's not signed yet, I can close Sparrow, shut down my laptop, go to Guardians 1 place, and get access to the seed in order for me to load the first signing key to sign the transaction. Okay, I am now at Guardian 1's place where I have now access to their seed, the seed 1. I brought with me the passphrase, and I just opened my laptop again. So I'm gonna open Sparrow. The wallet is loaded, and then I'm gonna load the transaction that is on the desktop. And again, we're going to go with finalize transaction for signing. So what we'll do is click Show QR Code. This is an animated QR code of the unsigned transaction. We'll sign this QR code with the signing device, but first we're going to have to load the signing key on the signing device, which means loading seed1 and the passphrase, which is what we're going to do now. So let's say that Guardian 1 gave us his recovery package that contains seed 1, and we came to his house with the passphrase. So what we're going to do is load seed 1, check the fingerprint, load the passphrase to modify the seed 1 into the signing key, and then check the fingerprint with passphrase. And once we have the signing key loaded in the signing device, we're going to go back to the laptop, scan the unsigned transaction with the signing device, and then sign the transaction with the signing key that is loaded in the device. So first, I'm going to scan the QR code of seed1, check the fingerprint, it matches, and then we're going to go with the passphrase, and this is where we will add the passphrase. And as you can see, the fingerprint is the same, which is 461E8 EB2. So then we click done, and so then we're gonna click scan PSBT and go and scan the unsigned transaction on the laptop. Signing key 1 is now ready. It is on our seed signer right there. We're gonna click scan PSBT and scan the QR code that is being displayed on the screen, which is the QR code of the unsigned transaction. So as you can see, it now tells us to review the details. We're receiving a word of caution that tells us that we're spending the whole balance of the wallet. So we can just continue. It then tells us how the spend is gonna be. We're gonna send everything but the mining fee that goes to the miner, which is what is displayed on the seed signer. This is the address to which we'll send the Bitcoin. We can review that as well. And then we can finally approve the signature by clicking approve. Now that we have approved the transaction, it is now signed and a QR code is being displayed on the screen of the seed signer. It is the QR code of the partially signed transaction that will scan back into the Sparrow interface. We now have a signature from our first signer, public key 1, which was derived from the signing key 1, which is the combination of seed 1 and the passphrase. So we now have one signature, we need two more, and following on the scenario that we are at Guardian 1's place, we now have to move to Guardian 2's place to get access to his recovery package and be able to sign the transaction for the second signature. In this case, we'll have to shut down the laptop, so we'll do the same process. We'll save the transaction right here on the desktop, and we now have the transaction right here. We can now delete the first transaction as we now have a new one with one signature. Now that the transaction with one signature from public key 1 is saved, we can close Sparrow Wallet, shut down the laptop, go to our second Guardian's place, and reopen Sparrow Wallet, load the transaction, and do the same process for the second and third signatures before we broadcast it. I am now at Guardians 2 place and I am ready to sign the transaction with signing key 2, which is made of the seed 2 and the passphrase. So again, I'm going to open Sparrow, go to File, Open Transaction, File, go to Desktop, and load my partially signed Bitcoin transaction. We can see there's already one signature, so we can now take care of the second one and of the third one. So what I'm going to do now is go back to my offline desk, load the signing key 2 in the signing device with seed2 and the passphrase, and then scan the QR code of the partially signed Bitcoin transaction, sign it with the device, and scan it again with the Sparrow interface to get the signature from the device. I have signing key 2 ready on my seed signer. I'm going to do show QR code and scan it with the seed signer. Okay, I'm reviewing the details and I'm going to sign the transaction with the signing device. I can approve the PSBT and it displays the QR code of the partially signed transaction with the second signature. So I'm going to click scan QR code. I now have the second signature for my transaction. I can repeat the same process of saving the transaction. So I'm going to save it on my desktop. It's here. I'm going to delete the old signed transaction and keep this one for the third signature. I can now shut down the laptop, go to Guardian 3's place, and do the same thing for the third and last signature for this transaction to become valid. Okay, we now have the three signatures so that makes our transaction valid and ready to be broadcast. And as you can see, we now have a new button that is broadcast transaction. So what you can do is view the final transaction if you need to, which you probably won't, and then broadcast the transaction. And that's it. It's sent. It is unconfirmed for now. It's waiting to be added into a block by a miner, but we've successfully created and signed a transaction leaving our Bitcoin vault. The transaction has been included into a block. It now has one confirmation. So what we can do is close this transaction. And if we go back to our vault, we'll see the transaction here spending the whole amount that we had previously received in the vault, bringing the total balance of the vault to 0 Bitcoin. That's it. We successfully sent a small amount of Bitcoin out of our vault. Having to sign the transaction from different places is a lengthy process, but it ensures the highest level of security for your Bitcoin vault. I'll see you in the next video.